Stoli Vodka is one of the world's most awarded premium vodkas. With a commitment to uncompromising quality since 1938, Stoli controls every aspect of its vodka making, from planting, harvesting the finest ingredients, to distilling and bottling. This process has been followed for decades to guarantee the consistency and quality and signature ultra-smooth taste in each iconic bottle produced. Isn't it time you picked up Stoli Vodka for a try? For those who know their vodka well, and themselves even better, Stoli, the vodka. Check out Stoli as the official vodka in Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Enjoy responsibly. 40% alcohol by volume. Imported by Stoli Group USA, LLC, New York, New York.
Attention shoppers, clean up on aisle 14. Clean up on aisle 14. Someone dropped a jar of pickles. Pickles. Kosher pickles.
Beatboxing at a big box store. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
A red minivan has the lights on in the parking lot.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Geico.
It's Golick and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey Wingo. Mike Golick let me sit in the big boy chair for the day. I appreciate that.
Yes, and there's always a reason we come in with a song like that, the connection of you, Jason Fitz, and the song.
Yes, I played for the band Perry for years on the road, and that was Chainsaw, one of our better one of our hits, I guess. I always feel weird saying hits. But
well, no, why? Don't feel weird saying. Which song do you play did you play the most in?
Well, oh wow! I will say one of the great things about being a fiddle player for the band was that most of their big hits had fiddle solos. So like, when you think about the biggest hits for the band, Done, Better Dig 2, and If I Die Young all had signature fiddle solos. So I actually got to do a lot of that. And for the band, I played 4 or 5 other instruments as well. So I was always doing something. But one of the coolest things for me was I had room to sort of do my thing several times. So really lucky. Not a lot of bands have a lot of fiddle solos.
What I didn't know, what other instruments do you play?
Well, for the band, I played piano and B3, like organ stuff, some acoustic guitar, a little bit of mandolin, and then a dobro, which is like a slide sort of.
Like a slide guitar?
Yeah, it's like a
type
slide
thing?
guitar system.
Called a what?
Dobro.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so there you go.
There you have it. Again, this is the man that ruined halftime for us, the halftime show at my house at the Super Bowl we'll get to.
Well, I mean, I just gave some truth, Mike.
You peeled back the onion a little bit on us there. You told us how the sausage was made. Okay?
Too far, too soon. Never going back to the butcher. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests are on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Before we get to any of those, let's get you caught up on what is trending. Kristaps Porzingis, the NBA's leader in blocks, tore the ACL in his left knee after landing awkwardly on Giannis Antetokounmpo's foot after a dunk in the second quarter of the loss to Milwaukee. Huge loss for the Knicks.
Oh, what a monster loss for a team that, finally had its direction, got past the whole Phil Jackson, Carmelo Anthony thing. This is Porzingis' team, build around him and build to the future because he's so young. And it's one of those, he knew it as soon as he hit the ground, grabbed his knee and was pounding the ground. Players kind of know it. You know when something is wrong with your body. And there were some that were like, okay, he limped off the field, but they saw him walking a little bit later and thought, oh, maybe it's not too bad. But I've seen teammates walk off the field with a slight limp. When they hurt their knee, they got up and they walked off with a slight limp and they had a torn ACL because you just don't know. The stability is not there. You can walk straight ahead. It's painful, but you have no stability, especially side to side. So, you're seeing injuries. How about the All-Stars that have gone down? Porzingis, DeMarcus Cousins, Kevin Love, and John Wall all have gone down. This obviously a monster injury, at least 10 months before you're back, and then how long it takes you to get back into your groove again.
Yeah, so there's some sort of LeBron curse. That's this year's Madden curse is the team LeBron.
Those are all teammates of LeBron, yeah, right.
And now if he loses the All-Star game, he can say, look, I didn't even have my whole team.
How about it?
But ultimately, the timing of this is the most difficult piece for the Knicks because it puts them in a situation where it not only affects this season, it absolutely affects next season, and it affects their building plan too. So now the question is, do they spend this summer sort of just refeeling everything out and gearing towards the free agent class of 2019? And that's difficult for Knicks fans to just absorb right now. When you feel like when you have a star player, the thing that you have is hope. And when you see an injury at this time, not only do you lose hope for this season, you lose hope possibly for a lot of what next season could hold. That's the worst case scenario for the Knicks to be in. So Moving over to baseball, the New York Yankees will open the gates 3 hours before spring training home games, allowing fans to watch Aaron Judge and new teammate Giancarlo Stanton take their thwacks during batting practice.
I think this is awesome. They would normally open it up 2 hours before, 3 hours before, so you can watch batting practice, bring your mitt and go stand in the outfield or go stand, over past the wall. It's going to be fantastic. I mean, what a show that's going to be. That's what spring training is. That's when you as a fan, especially in baseball, can get kind of closest to the players. That's when it's way more relaxed around the players. So go there that hour early and just watching that is going to be very, very cool.
And this is going to be one of the most marketable pieces of what makes baseball special this season. I mean, all eyes will be on all things Yankees, even for people that aren't baseball fans, because they want to see what these two guys do in the lineup, how they hit the ball. It's the easiest story they could possibly get. I don't think even baseball could screw this one.
No, you can't. And you love the added fact that they're both basically football players. I mean, the size of them is just, Stanton has always looked big to me. And then you put Judge next to him, who's another inch or two bigger and heavier as well. It's just ridiculous watching the athletic ability of guys that big in a baseball uniform.
Now you know how I feel when I walk into the Golick house. Little guy, big guy.
There you go.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. According to Billboard, Best Buy will no longer sell CDs in its stores starting on July 1st, 2018. This is a set. Okay, I'll date myself.
Yeah, you jumped this one.
I used to go to Tower Records, and Nashville used to have this massive Tower Records, and I would go there with my buddies on Saturdays, and we would spend hours. And the whole thing we would do is everybody would go to their favorite section and get stuff that they think their buddies would like. And so all of my musician buddies, we'd spend hours in there just trying out different music. It was such an easy way to get through Tower. And I understand streaming. I'm like everybody else. That's where we get most of our music. Mm-hmm. That's why nobody's buying CDs anymore. But it's just now I feel like you walk out to the internet, you pull up and you want to, I want to find new music. It feels like walking into a library and saying, I want a book. There's so much of it out there. How do you even know what you're going to like? It for me, at times, I miss the old, I'm going to be stodgy old guy. I miss the walk into a store, see the record cover and really get soaked into something special.
How bad did music get hurt though when all of a sudden you could just get it online as opposed to having to buy the record, the CD, whatever?
They still haven't figured it out. And the interesting thing is that record labels now do what are called 360 deals. So record labels now in many genres get a cut of everything an artist makes because they're no longer making money just off of record sales. It used to be, if you toured, that was your money, or if you had merch, that was your money. Now record labels, some of them are taking money from all of it because that's how they're staying afloat. So it hurts everybody in the process. It's tougher now, I think, than ever to actually go out and viably make a living as a musician. It's all cyclical. It reminds me of the 50s now. Artists will put out singles and they'll work little regions. And when that region blows up, maybe they'll take on the next section.
What's the best way for a musician / songwriter to make money? Is it write the song?
Oh, absolutely. That's the only way.
That's the way, right?
Yeah, you got to write it, which is why you see there are more writers on a hit now than ever before. Statistically, it used to be, I think, 2. Now an average Nashville song has 3.5 maybe writers, somewhere in that range, which tells you that more and more people are getting involved, and that's why more and more artists, that it's not an accident that Bruno Mars always puts out, his own songs.
Right.
That's where you make the money. So
right.
We'll get to Stugotz in 30 seconds. But first, Mike.
Talking about Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club not only gives you an amazing shave, but they also make products for your hair, face, skin, shower, everything you need, and it's all their own original stuff. Dollar Shave Club has you covered head to toe. Right now, you can get your first month of their best razor, along with travel-size versions of shave butter, body cleanser, and other great products for just $5. After that, replacement cartridges ship for just a few bucks a month. It's the DSC starter set for just $5 exclusively at dollarshaveclub.com/Golic. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Golic.
So, before we get to this next guest, he's been, I don't want to say stalking. Let's just say aggressively leaving messages for us. Let's hear this one.
Hey guys, doing a mobile phone, first time, long time, great show. I know we're trying to get to know Fitz this morning, so I got a question for him. Abdullah, congratulations on being the only guy who still thinks that LeBron James is staying in Cleveland after the season. I'll hang up and listen, thanks.
Shut up, Stu. I'm hanging on to the LeBron thing. And listen, I had been saying forever, why would he leave? His best chance to get to the finals and win it, and the only way to win a championship is to be in the finals, was to stay in Cleveland. So he's not leaving Cleveland. Why would he leave Cleveland now? Man, I could pick 10 other teams that he should go to instead of staying on Cleveland. I was hanging on that forever, and now I'm hanging on to it more with my heart than my head. But boy, you want to talk about a ship that is sailing.
Well, let's get the man on to talk. Yeah. That's an aggressive approach to come at. He's coming at you, Mike.
Yeah, that's how he rolls. He's very bummed that he wasn't in our house for the Super Bowl, I think. So he's really taking it out on me.
I am outraged. First off, your reaction to that was priceless, but I am so jealous and outraged that I was not invited to the Golick family Super Bowl party. I mean, am I a family member or not? And how did Jason Fitz get into this family?
Look, I'm going to start here.
Go ahead.
Stugotz. The first thing you got to know, buddy, is that the chairs were unbelievably comfortable. The food was fantastic. The drinks, there was even drinks. Like we brought nothing. We brought nothing. And in fact, I'm pretty sure the Golicks are like, hey, if you want to bring some buddies, you can. So, it was a mostly open invite to the party. So, do with that as you will.
Okay, thanks. Well, I mean, just drive the knife in a little bit further. Just go ahead.
Oh, I love how he's pronouncing your name, since you would mispronounce his name as well a few times. As I said after the message, Stu, listen, he brings Juilliard at 10 years old to the table. He brings touring in a band, for years to the table. What are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the Golick family?
Hot takes. That's all I have. That's my gift. I mean, that's all I can bring, Golick. That is all, that my charm, Golick, because listen, I know your wife. I've gotten to know your wife pretty well. I think your wife likes me a lot. I really do. So I got hot takes and charm, and that's all I got. That's it.
I'm going to tell you what, my wife loves you. There is no doubt about that. So right out of the gate, give us your hottest take going on right now.
Listen, I'll give you a great take on the Hall of Fame. I think it's a great take on the Hall of Fame because I was railing about this yesterday, and Golick, I'd be interested to get your thoughts. I don't think Brian Urlacher, with all due respect to Brian Urlacher, is a first ballot Hall of Fame. Mike, when I think of first ballot Hall of Fame, I think of the elite of the elite. And when I think of elite linebackers, I never, ever, for 1 second do I think of Brian Urlacher. I think of Lawrence Taylor. I think of Dick Butkus. I think of Mike Singletary. I do not think of Brian Urlacher. Someone needs to explain to me how Brian Urlacher is a first ballot Hall of Famer and Terrell Owens is not. Because for me, Mike, it doesn't make any sense. Brian Urlacher is a Hall of Famer. He is not the elite of the elite. He's not even a top 5 linebacker in Bears history. How about that?
Wow, I'd need to hear the other 5 linebackers you're talking about in Bears history to say he's not 5 in Bears history. And the reason he isn't T.O., we know why T.O. wasn't a first time. T.O. should have been. But if T.O. had a reputation of being a fine teammate and no issue in the locker room, I think he would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer like Randy Moss was, or and then Ray Lewis. So you would have him.
Mike, hold on a second. Mike, hold on a second, because Randy Moss had some of that same stuff. He did. Same stuff. He quit on the Raiders. He quit a lot on his teams. Like, he had some of that same stuff, and he gets in first ballot. Terrell Owens does not. Doesn't make sense to me.
I agree with you, and I think that, and I've chastised the writers time and time again for their morality that they think they're upholding by keeping T.O. out. I think it was an absolute joke. I'll be surprised. I thought only Ray Lewis and T.O. would get in. I thought Urlacher and Ray Lewis and Moss would get in. I thought T.O. would still be waiting, and I thought Urlacher would have to wait one more time. I don't mind him going in on the first ballot. I think it was going to be first or second ballot with him. I'm surprised, Jason. I'm surprised that 2 linebackers and 2 wide receivers went in the way they did.
I'm surprised by that too. And actually, Stu, I agree with you. I think there were some questions. I understand this is not a popular opinion, but I think there were some questions about Randy Moss's effort that should have affected his Hall of Fame. And when you just walk off the field early, if we're gonna fault T.O. for who he was as a teammate on the sidelines, when you just walk off the field, like, that's got to mean something when we talk about Hall of Fame. I will say, Urlacher, all-decade team for the 2000s, 41 and a half sacks, 22 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 90 passes defended. I mean, the stats are pretty staggering for Urlacher. I would ask you this, Stu, if you were looking at it saying who didn't get in that should have had Urlacher's spot, because that's a tougher. I didn't feel like anybody was left out that should have gotten in.
Yeah, you know, but I did. So that's probably more of the problem. It's a great question. That's more of the problem for me with Urlacher getting in, because Urlacher getting in means someone doesn't get in. So I don't think Urlacher should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I think Tony Baselli, who's a friend of our show, and Mike, I know you're fond of him as well. I think Tony Baselli, who was also, by the way, on an all-decade team in the 90s, and for a 6 or 7 year span, was the best tackle in the NFL, and I'm not even certain it was close. Tony Baselli should already be in the Hall of Fame, and every time we put a guy like Brian Urlacher, who's deserving, he gets in on the first ballot, and that means Tony Baselli doesn't get in this year, and he's got to wait around a couple of more years. I think that's unfair. Baselli deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree with that on Baselli, and no O-linemen were taken. If you'd separate Jerry Kramer, obviously, but that was a Veterans Committee. As far as getting voted in by the voters, between him, Steve Hutchinson, Alan Faneca, no offensive linemen, and Joe Jacoby, nobody making it in this time around. So I'm with you on Baselli. I think he should be in for, even though it was a shorter career, we've seen guys with shorter careers get in, and hopefully he will get in because he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Stu, the latest, biggest news out there that everybody expected Josh McDaniels to be introduced today as an Indianapolis Colts head coach. He backs out of that. He already hired a couple of coaches who are now going to stay on no matter who the new head coach is with the Colts. He goes back to the Patriots, who say Robert Kraft sweetened the deal for him. What do you think, in the Stugotz head of conspiracy theories possibly, what do you think is the reason Josh McDaniels is not the coach of the Colts?
Mike, I hate to disappoint you. I think I'll be reasonable here. I think I'm going to try to be reasonable here. I'm sorry. But I think he sat down and thought about it. He's got 4 kids. He didn't want to uproot his entire family and move to Indianapolis. There were questions about Andrew Luck's shoulder. There were questions about that entire team. And he's sitting there with Bill Belichick, and he still has Tom Brady, who's playing at a very high level, was the NFL MVP. So, I mean, and had a great Super Bowl. I mean, Tom Brady really did outplay Nick Foles when you think about it in that Super Bowl. I think at least they played to a push. So I think McDaniel stayed, in a place, in an area of the country where he's comfortable, where his family can stay, where his kids can continue to grow up. And then I think there had to be some sort of arrangement. Like, I'm certain there was more money, but there has to be some sort of arrangement here where Josh McDaniels is going to be the head coach once Bill Belichick steps down. I had to think that was part of the discussion, because for McDaniels, it was always about the future being murky with the Patriots. What's going to happen once this guy leaves? And I think Bob Kraft settled that by saying, hey, when he leaves, it is your job. Plus, I'm going to give him more money to stay right now. I think that has to be the reason, right?
It's Goldlink and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. I'm Jason Fitz, in for Trey. We're talking to Stugotz from the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. And so, Stu, let me ask you then, how hireable is Josh McDaniels to any other job at this point?
Well, that's a great question. You know what?
Thank you.
If the right job becomes available, I don't know. Does he take it? Does he not? Because remember, Bill Belichick, it's funny because we just had the 30 for 30 out where Bill Belichick and Parcells had the same arrangement. When Parcells left, Belichick would take over, and then Parcells left and Belichick didn't want to take over because I don't think he wanted to kind of be the guy that followed the guy. So it's going to be interesting. I think Josh McDaniels, if he puts it out there that he wants a job, I think he'll get offers every offseason. But it's going to be interesting to see. If Josh McDaniels doesn't go after any head coaching jobs next offseason, the following offseason, then we know he has some sort of arrangement with Bill Belichick and the Patriots and the Crafts to be the next head coach of the Patriots.
Right. Agree with that. Stu, what are you and Dan and the crew out there, what have been your thoughts about Malcolm Butler being benched for the Super Bowl and only playing the one lone punt play?
We can't figure it out. I mean, just for the life of me, cannot figure it out. And it's just weird that Bill Belichick, when you make a decision, I get the Patriot way, I get all of it. It was interesting. I heard you guys on the way in with Tom Brady. And I think the Patriot way is kind of fractured. I really do. I think the players are getting tired of it because, you got Brady with the Facebook stuff and Brady commenting on Malcolm Butler. It's interesting. I think maybe guys are starting to tire, especially Brady, of the Patriot way and what Bill Belichick asked you to do by being quiet. But I can't figure this one out. When you make a decision this big, in the biggest game of the year, in the Super Bowl, and we find out about it right before the game, I mean, guys, you got to give us something if you're Bill Belichick. You got to give us something. And what he's given us is simply not the truth. I happen to believe Malcolm Butler here. I don't think he was late to anything. I just think the Patriots decided to bench him for whatever reason. But I'd like to know what that reason is. It's hard to form an opinion on it until Bill Belichick tells you the reason that Malcolm Butler did not play in that Super Bowl.
In fairness, Stu, though, if we live in a world where even Belichick can't get benefit of the doubt, Can any coach? I mean, can any coach at this point?
No. Well, Belichick can't get it to no. I mean, you're right. No one gets the benefit of the doubt. But don't you want to know why he didn't play? I mean, aren't you interested in that decision and why Malcolm Butler, who's on the field for 90% of the snaps and their best cornerback, he's not great, but he's the best they got, why he's not on that field?
Of course I want to know, but I feel like we've turned immediately as he owes us answers sort of a vibe because that's what we're used to. But my God, I mean, if I'm Bill Belichick, I'm standing at the podium today saying, guess what, boys? I don't owe you anything. I'm Bill Belichick.
Right. Is it, I don't know you anything, or what I told you is the truth? Is it back down to the term that we had to figure out the meaning of Occam's razor, that it just was the simplest explanation that Bill Belichick said? We put the players on the field that thought would give us the best chance to win. It was a bigger cornerback, and that's it. I don't know, but I'm with you, Stu. At some point, maybe we'll find out if there was more, what it would be. And all right, Stu, listen, I've been trying to hang on to the Cavaliers for so long.
Yeah.
That they could flip the switch, that they could, get it going when the playoffs go, that LeBron would stay there. I'm white knuckling, hanging on to that one. So let's go this route. In your opinion, and I know other things have to play out, what team do you realistically think LeBron James would go to?
Wow, that's I don't think it's the Lakers, man.
I don't
thought
either.
At one point maybe it was the Lakers, yeah. And I thought at one point maybe it was the Knicks, but Porzingis and that injury, because maybe he wanted to stay in the East. I can't see him going to the Celtics. I guess, you know what? I guess the Rockets make the most sense. They really do. Chris Paul is one of his best friends, maybe his best friend, in the NBA, with James Harden there. I think, you put LeBron with James Harden and Chris Paul in that offensive system with Mike D'Antoni. You got to think that at the very least they have the best shot of anyone in the NBA. They do right now without LeBron. The Houston Rockets do of beating the Golden State Warriors. With LeBron, I think they'd probably be a slight favorite to beat the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs. So I guess I could see him going there, going to play with Chris Paul and James Harden. I think that'd be fun. I think it'd be fun for the league. Unfortunately, they'll have to meet up in the Western Conference Finals because the NBA hasn't figured out just to seed these things 1 through 16 and let the two best teams play.
I mean, my God, if he goes to the Rockets, can we just cancel the next regular season and just let those two teams play about once a month and just let it happen that way?
Just play 82 play 82.
The East will be the minor league. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Right.
Awesome stuff. Hey, Stu, we appreciate your time. Thanks
Stu.
for hanging out with us.
Really, Stu, you're really part of the family. As much as it doesn't seem like it, you really are.
Yeah. No, it doesn't feel like that today, Mike. I got to be honest with you. I'm a little down on you right now.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for the Golick Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Golick and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. You guys have all of the fiddle music.
Yeah, we do.
Just dial in here.
Yes, we do.
Fantastic. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. There's huge breaking news, obviously, over the last 24 hours in the NFL, and we get to talk to one of the best about it. Pro Football Hall of Famer Bill Polian joins us in studio, giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts.
Real quick, though, do you know that this guy, Jason Fitz, Bill, was at Juilliard at 10 years old, playing violin?
I did not know that.
Yes. How impressive is that?
What's he doing here with us?
That's exactly right, huh?
Have you seen the music business? I mean, this is stable compared to the music business.
Symphony Hall, man.
Isn't that amazing? But before we get to the Josh McDowell thing, because it's amazing, just a quick note on the Hall of Fame. I know you and I differ on Terrell Owens, him getting in. Were you surprised about Randy Moss? Because there was issues about Randy Moss that he got in on the first ballot, and did you think it would take a couple for him or no?
No, and I've long since the debacle with Commissioner Tagliabue a year ago, I have long since even stopped giving it a thought. You never know what those people are going to do in the room.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
You really, really don't. What did you think of the class? So I didn't know Urlacher would get in. 2 linebackers and 2 wide receivers was kind of stunning, and no offensive linemen.
It is, and the fact that John Lynch didn't make it was a little stunning to me. I think he's clearly a Hall of Famer. But, Who knows?
Yeah, it is. I'm with you. The whole Hall of Fame voting thing can be a bit of a mess.
Well, let's stay on that for 1 second. If the process is broken, is there a way to fix it in your mind?
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily broken. As the Hall approaches as the league approaches its 100th anniversary, probably a good idea to take a look at the process and see if there's in this day and age there's a better way to do it. I don't think that it's broken, but there might be a little bit tweaks that can happen that make it a little bit better. Yeah.
All right. So, all right, the situation going on now. Let's start from the Colts side, the team you certainly know well. So they think they're signing Josh McDaniels. They think they're going to have the presser, and then he decides not to do it. Just from the Colts side of it, tell us how this messes them up, doesn't mess them up, how now they have two coaches that are under contract that I believe have to be there with the next coach. How do they all work through all this stuff?
Well, they're going to work through it fine. I got off the plane at 10 o'clock last night and looked at my phone, and it had blown up.
I bet.
So, and it was all really, people from the Colts family calling one another, going back to my days there. What the heck happened?
Yeah.
So we quickly found out what had happened, that McDaniels had backed out, and they're fine with it. I talked to people in the organization; they're fine with it. They're moving on. They have a short list of people they're going to talk to. They'll get a coach. They're going to absolutely honor the contracts of the coaches that McDaniel wanted them to hire, and they did. So they'll honor those contracts, and those players, those guys will be with them. So they'll just move on. It's as simple as that. No one's upset. No one's crying about spilled milk. As one person said to me, who I highly respect, former teammate, better to learn it now than later.
Is this, just one quick one, Jason, is this something that the league can change by letting the Colts announce he's going to be their coach before the Super Bowl? Because obviously the longer a team plays, the tougher it is to talk to that coach who sets it up. So if 2 weeks ago they could have agreed to it and announced it and Josh McDaniels knew he was going to be the coach, is that something they can do?
Well, they could change the rule. I don't think the rule needs changing. I mean, this is all about Josh McDaniels. It's not about the Colts. It's not about the rule. He decided not to take a job that he basically had told him he was going to take. They had actually scheduled the press conference. I think everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So there's no rule that can stop that. And I think on balance, the rule is a good rule. The idea is you don't want to distract the people who are involved in the Super Bowl or involved in the playoffs with another job. And at least in the sense that they compartmentalize, it's a good thing. So I think that rule should stay in place.
Pro Football Hall of Famer Bill Polian joining us on Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. So, Bill, for the rest of the owners in the NFL, if you're looking at Josh McDaniels in the future for a head coaching job, does this give you some hesitance?
Absolutely. I think, the Denver thing was a consideration, quite frankly, as you go through it, as you go through the hiring process, as people talk to one another. He did not have success in Denver.
Right.
So, and it ended very badly. Now, from his perspective, there are reasons why that happened, and I think the Colts people listened to it and actually believed it. But this now is a second issue that you have to get through. So, at some point, somebody's going to hire him, maybe in New England, maybe elsewhere. But it's certainly another hurdle that he's going to have to cross and explain.
So then we get to the New England side, and from your time in front offices, can you even begin to think of what were some of the reasons that we're all hearing the successor to Bill, up the salary and or said that in the successor to Bill, family considerations, a wife and 4 kids? I mean, what have you seen in the past that would lead you to think it could be one thing or another?
Well, it's always a combination of things. I mean, clearly they had meetings in Foxborough. That's been pretty well documented. And what was said in those meetings, no one knows.
Right.
And no one will know until it's time for Bill to walk away. And I don't think that'll happen anytime soon. In fact, I'd be more shocked about that than I am about this. So, we'll never know until the time comes. And McDaniel probably won't enunciate his reasons. He probably shouldn't. It's his decision. It's one that he made. He has to live with it, and that's that.
Have you seen in your time in the league that just one of the thoughts is that, hey, not only will we sweeten your money, but you're next in line whenever Bill is done? Have you seen that in the league that this has been said?
I did it with Jim Caldwell, without question. Yeah, I mean, people do it that way because they want an orderly succession. general managers, George Young told me this when I took the job in Buffalo, when I got the job in Buffalo. I didn't have the choice. I was grateful that that they didn't throw me out the door. He said, keep a list in your upper left-hand drawer of potential head coaches because you never know when something untoward is going to happen. Well, lo and behold, it happened in Buffalo. Marv Levy got prostate cancer and he was out for a while. We had already appointed the late Elijah Pitts, God rest his soul, as the assistant head coach, and he took over seamlessly. And then when we recognized that Jim Caldwell was going to be a worthy successor to Tony Dungy, we simply named him assistant head coach with the idea that he would succeed Tony. And then, lo and behold, Tony had the tragedy in his family and ended his coaching career, earlier, I think, than he expected to for obvious and good personal reasons.
Yeah.
But I've done it twice, so I'm not a stranger to the process. That's for sure.
Can the Patriots name Josh McDaniels as a successor in a Rooney Rule era where they would have to interview a minority candidate?
Yes, there is an exception to the Rooney Rule that if a successor is named, that you can do that.
Huh.
Interesting.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did not know
that.
Look at that. Bill Pullian dropping knowledge as always.
That's why he's in the Hall of Fame and we're not. The Malcolm Butler situation from on the field situation, when this all played out, before just not giving our opinion, what did you think?
I was a bit surprised because I thought that Butler, on balance, while he hadn't played tremendously well, was a better cover guy than Rowe. Now, Rowe acquitted himself pretty well in the ball game, actually. But it brings Batamosi into play, who's not a great. The covering is not his thing against a team that clearly threw the ball very well. So I was a bit surprised. What occurred, I guess we'll never know. It's unfair, I think, to Malcolm in the sense that he's becoming a free agent for this to be out there without a sufficient explanation. But I guess it is what it is, and he'll have to make his case to whoever it is that wants to sign him. I'm certain he'll get a job. The question is at what price?
How much, right?
Let's look at the other side of that Super Bowl matchup. If you're Howie Roseman in Philly right now, how do you handle the quarterback situation next year that they now have?
Well, they have Nick under contract. They have Carson coming back, and they make no bones about the fact that Carson's the future of the franchise, and that's absolutely right. He's a transcendental quarterback. He's once in a generation. So that's the situation. Now, until Carson proves this is not Howie talking, this is me now, although Howie and I are friends. Until Carson proves that he's back 100%, I wouldn't do anything with Nick, and they're not forced to do anything with Nick because he's under contract and probably in a pretty good place. I mean, he said on numerous occasions he likes it there. That's why he came back. He likes the coaching staff, etc. So you would think that it would be status quo. Now, if you want to sit around and dream up wild and crazy scenarios, I think probably for the next 4 weeks or maybe even 4 months we can do that.
Right.
and Howie would be remiss if he didn't look at it himself. When I was with the Colts, we would always, going into free agency, have a meeting where we said, think about all of the wild and crazy scenarios that could develop so we're prepared in case one does. And often it would. The craziest scenario that you could dream up came true. So witness, Josh McDaniels, the press conference is called, right? And he backs out. So in the NFL, as Bill Parcells used to say, 5 things happen every day that you didn't anticipate. So as a GM, you try to anticipate them as best you can. So there'll be wild and crazy scenarios out there, and who knows? So Howie will be prepared. That much I can tell you.
The phone, so now this is you talking now, Howie. You're putting the GM cap back on. When the phone rings there, if it rings there in Philadelphia with a team wanting Nick Foles, what would Bill Polian's price tag be that says, you know what? I can't turn that down.
High.
Yeah.
High.
What's high?
High is what RG3, et cetera, went for. Multiple ones, and probably multiple twos.
Really?
Yes.
Is there?
He's a Super Bowl MVP, for goodness sake.
Any chance they'll get that offer?
I kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
I kind of doubt it because Nick will be a free agent in a year,
right.
And people who are looking at a long-term deal will say we'd rather wait than give up that currency.
No, that makes sense.
Fantastic stuff. Pro Football Hall of Famer Bill Polian. We always appreciate your time.
Thanks Bill. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You're such a pro. I'm over here dancing the whole way.
You are. I'm seeing
doesn't
you
even
dance.
faze you.
I'm seeing you dance in my periph and just laughing.
Oh, my periph. That's. See, you've been hanging around with Golick Jr. a little bit right there. That's
how I roll.
Golick and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN2. Obviously, Trey getting a little sun, a little relaxation.
Yeah, he's in Hawaii for a little while. And when he first started the show, we wanted this audience who had been used to myself and Greeny for years to get to know him. So we did a Try Trey segment on questions about Trey. And so since you're in for a few days while Trey is gone, we're going to continue with our Try Jason. Jason used to be a fiddle player for the band Perry, went to Juilliard when he was 10 years old. We found out a lot about this earlier, but we do have some other questions to Try Jason.
All right, here we go.
Both Golick and Golick Jr. want tickets to see Gary and the boys in Rascal Flats, but you only have one ticket. Who you giving it to?
First and foremost, I'm just getting a second ticket. I mean, that's a smart thing to do. But if I'm choosing between senior and junior, there is no choice. You go senior all day.
I think you have to.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's a smart move.
Well, and I would like to think the junior would appreciate that.
What if he were still sitting here and we were both sitting here staring through you right now? What would you say?
Well, the real answer to this question is that I would give it to your lovely and amazing wife.
Oh,
because she is the glue that keeps the Golick family together. I'm just saying, I would do that in a heartbeat.
It's a smart answer.
Thank you very much. It's again, I'm married. I have figured these things out. I figured these things out. But no, always you, because let's face it. Your name.
My name's in the show.
Your name's in the show.
Yeah.
Right. And
even though Junior tries to say that as well, because it's his name too.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Close enough. It almost counts. But definitely goes to Golick Senior. Sorry, Mike. I still love you. Next up.
Best Buy is getting rid of CDs this summer. If you could only have one, which one would you pick?
I love the fake accent on this.
I know.
Thing too.
Jerry is trying to go country on you and got the fiddle going. And all right, one CD, no more CDs. They're done, but which one would you take?
Oh my gosh, that is like the most difficult question. If I'm picking one CD that's not a greatest hits CD, Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder.
Really?
Yeah, I Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, like Motown, that area. That era when I first got out of classical music and I went to 80s rock first, and then I sort of went past that. If I was going to go with more of an 80s rock CD, the These Days Bon Jovi CD, since I mentioned Bon Jovi earlier, that'd be high on my list.
Didn't mention any Gordon Lightfoot, Gord's Gold.
No.
Okay.
I didn't.
I need to save that one for me.
You can have that one.
Okay.
Greatest hit CDs too are the big cheat in all of this because
they are the cheat.
Yeah, like any like Aerosmith's greatest hits would probably be high on my list too. That's a tough one though.
That is
for me.
A lot to choose from.
I'd rather make my own playlist. That's the more millennial way to do it.
Well, we're not letting you. That's not the question said.
That's fair. Next question.
You're afraid of heights, but rode in the Goodyear blimp. What's the next fear you'd like to face?
I don't want to face any of them. I don't ever want to be. I mean, the Goodyear blimp was terrifying.
Right.
So this whole thought that now I'm just suddenly going to get adventurous and go skydiving. I have one life rule, Mike.
What's that?
This is an important one. If you would see it in the opening of a horror movie and say, "Oh my God, don't do it," don't do it. So, for example, on tour a few years ago, we were in London. There was a dark alley, and our tour manager literally looked at me and said, "Hey, I think this dark alley is a shortcut to the hotel." We had no working phones. I said, "You realize this is the opening scene of a horror movie. We can't do it." I'm glad I didn't make that decision. Skydiving, I don't know, shark swimming, things like that.
So you have nothing left on your list that you like my wife. My wife ran a marathon. That was a challenge to her. She did zip lining in Costa Rica, whitewater rafting. I can't get her to jump out of a plane, and I don't think she's not going in the Shark Tank. But she has these things she wants to try, and she does them. You don't have another one after the blimp thing?
No, the things that I don't try are because I'm scared of them. I don't want to start bringing.
We're supposed to get over that.
No, you're just supposed to compartmentalize it and move on and not do it.
I'm going to figure one out and make you do it.
Oh man, Heights is very to give my wife credit. She puts the Christmas lights up on the top of the roof because I won't get up on a ladder. No, not a
You're
chance.
Embarrassing.
Well, you are not the first person to tell me That's fair. Coming up, a former assistant GM, Bobby Marks, one of our favorites, will join us in studio next in advance of the NBA trade deadline. That's next up. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio.